We identified 5 different types of shade, believe it or not. You know, it used to be sun, partial shade, and shade. Now it's multiple levels within each one of those categories. Most everybody's going to fall in that light, partial to high shade. Full shade is like when you take a walk in the woods and you don't even see your shadow on a sunny day. And then dappled shade would be like when a tree is dappling the light and you're going to get hit and miss sunlight. But most of what we talk about is going to fall in that middle area. We talk about acclimation. If you sat in my houseplant talks, I tell you that in nature, there's no such thing as a houseplant. Okay, they are all human manipulated through a process called acclimation. Now what we do is we take a plant from nature, we put it under a certain percentage of shade, and we lower the light requirements for that plant in order for it to live in a Midwestern living room or anywhere else in the United States. Much the same with a shade garden outside. Plants will acclimate themselves to a fair amount of shade. Now you can take a highlight plant, let's take like a yucca plant, or maybe a lilac, and you can put it in some heavy shade, and the plant will survive, but it's not going to bloom. It's probably not going to grow really good, and it's probably going to get leaf spot, but it's going to acclimate. But what we're going to talk about, we're not going to talk about those plants that kind of look good in shade. We're going to talk about plants that do look good in shade. So when it comes to planting in shade, one of the biggest issues is if you use the native soil that's already there in the ground. If you have large trees, and certain trees, such as like a black walnut, can actually have acidic properties that will add to the soil around that tree. And other trees will have it as well. So you really have to look out for the pH of the soil. So if you're not sure, take a sample in to your extension office or your garden center, have it tested for the pH and see if it's very acidic. If it is, and it could be, I always suggest using raised beds in containers. That way you're controlling the soil with, bag soil that I might sell, but you're controlling the soil that way, and the plant's going to like it a lot better. Another thing to keep in mind is top dressing materials. Try to use stone if you can. Avoid wood. This would be wood chips or shredded mulch, because in the shade, if it gets wet, it's going to start rotting. And when you get that, you get a nice growth of various fungi or mushrooms. So try to use stone or non-decomposable product if you want to top dress your shade areas. Some of the environmental considerations when you do shade gardening, one of them, of course, I just mentioned was the fungi or mushrooms. You could get a good growth of those, and if you don't mind them, then that's fine. Don't forget you're going to get falling leaves in the fall. I don't know if you can see that. That's my cat Skeeter. She's in amongst the yellow leaves. It took me a while to find her. So keep that in mind as well. Moss loves shade, so keep that in mind. Especially if it's a damp area, you're going to get a good moss growth. And then the problem you're going to run into mainly in diseases is going to be what we call leaf spot, which is a picture here. And that's basically from having really a lack of air circulation. So you have shade, and you don't have a lot of sunlight to dry off the foliage, and you don't have a lot of air circulation, that water is going to actually settle in the leaf, and it's going to cause a little discoloration in the leaf. I'm not going to say you go out there and put an electric fan out there and blow the air around, but if you get any type of air circulation, you're going to definitely help that shade garden a lot. Great state of Indiana. We're up there in that zone 5B of Lake County. So the plants I'm going to talk about are going to be hardy to this zone. You don't have to worry, but there's a couple plants I'm going to mention that you might want to do a little winter protection on, but we're really going to talk about plants that are going to do well here. And I've taken into consideration, there's a whole host of plants, and I would have to probably take a month to go over every plant. So I picked my favorite ones, and I based it on not only the plant look, but the texture, the form of the plant, if there's any type of variegation in the foliage. All this to keep in mind, not just plants that will bloom in the shade. So this is going to be my list, and like I said, there's going to be many more. You may be one on there and go, hey, where's mine on there? Go ahead and add it to your own list. But we start off with annuals. I don't have to explain to you guys what an annual is, so Some of the ones that are more popular, of course, impatiens, whether it be the straight impatient or the New Guinea impatient. Also, impatiens make a great hanging basket for shade area. Begonia. So many looks today with begonia. This happens to be an angel wing, but a lot of different looks in the leaf, coloration, and again, another great hanging basket. Coleus, one of my favorites. The color schemes are endless. When I first worked in the garden center when I was 16, we had 3 different coleus. A red one, a yellow and green one, and a red and black one. Now there's, I don't know, maybe 600 or 700 cultivars out there of different shapes and different colorations. There's even coleus now that'll do well in full sun coleus. So it's come a long way. Nice thing about coleus and begonia is that if you do have them in containers, you can bring them in and create a houseplant out of them in the wintertime. They'll take a little bit higher light, like a west window or a south window, but I bring my coleus in, and it's actually in a east window, and it survives the wintertime. It's not looking like that, but it's surviving, and I put it back out this spring, and it's loving it again. Some more plants, sweet alyssum, kind of a unsung plant, but it's a nice little ground cover as well. A polka dot plant, which is it's tropical, so it will not live. It's treated as an annual here in Indiana, but again, you can bring that inside. There's a pink color like this one. There's also a green and white one. And then another great hanging basket is the bleeding heart of the fuchsia plant. Perennials, again, there's a host of perennials that'll work. Again, I've just picked some of the ones that I like for their looks. Primrose loves the shade, believe it or not. Even though the primrose walk of old is along a nice sunny walkway, the primrose will do well in the shade. Lungwort or pulmonaria has a very nice, when it's not blooming, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a nice mottled leaf to it. So when it's not blooming, it has some attraction there as well. Astilbe, we should be coming into bloom here in the next couple of weeks, and it'll be a nice fall bloomer as well. Foxglove or digitalis is another tall spike-like plant, so if you want to get a different look, something off the ground. Hellebores are really cool. This is one of the plants that I would recommend in the wintertime of piling leaves on top of it to give it a little more insulation for the winter, but they're very exotic looking plants. And of course, heuchera or coral bells are very popular as well with their colored foliage. They do bloom, but everybody loves them for the color of the leaves. That again gives you some color in that shade. And then of course, the endless count of ferns, whether it be a Japanese painted or an autumn fern or maidenhair fern. Ferns love the shade. And again, if you want to put those in a container, you can bring them inside in the wintertime. And one thing about ferns inside, they hate the furnace that comes on in the wintertime, and they tend to dry out. So you have to keep them quite misted and quite humid in order for them to really enjoy the winter. But you can get them through if you want to. And then of course, the hosta plant. Does anybody, Master Gardeners here, what is the common name of a hosta? Plantain lily, correct. It's also called funkia. This is one of the few plants that's actually sold by its botanical name, where most plants are sold by their common name. When I was back at that garden center, we had 3 hostas. We had a green one, a blue one, and a green and white one. And now again, there are endless different variegations on the leaves, different looks on the leaves. They do bloom, but again, it's more for the foliage. There are, believe it or not, there are actually some current studies going on to make them a possible contender as a house plant, again, because of their foliage color. The thing that I don't care about hostas is it cost me an A on my test. So at Michigan State, every Friday, we had to know every plant that grew on the campus, and it's about 5,000 acres. And so we would go out and we would learn a group of plants, and then on Fridays we would go around and the professor would point to a plant. We had to write down the botanical name, the common name, and spell it correctly with the point. So we were walking along and we came across the hosta. Now everybody knows what the plant is like. That's a hosta. So it's a plantain. spell it right. I couldn't come up with a species. All I could come up with hosta, but I couldn't come up with a species. So I just put down Luego, hosta Luego. Professor thought it was cute, but not worth the point. And to this day, I still struggle with the species. Anybody know what it is? It's Plantania, plantain lily. It's hosta plantania. So, but I didn't know it then. Ground covers. Two very popular ones, Pachysandra and Ivies. I always thought Pachysandra looked like little palm trees when I was growing up. We had it in our yard. But again, they're great ground covers for shaded areas. As well as sweet woodruff, one of my favorites for very deep shade. They'll do very well. Woodland phlox, as you can see, the nice purple color there, intermittent in a shaded area. By the way, all these pictures you're seeing were taken somewhere in the Midwest, between Wisconsin and Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, in my travels. So I'm not showing you anything from Texas. Ornamental grasses. A lot of people don't think ornamental grasses will do well in shade, but they actually will, certain ones. Feather reed grass and miscanthus. Now miscanthus can get 8-10 feet tall if you want something that big. It has a couple of different looks. There's a straight green one. This happens to be a variegated silver and green one. Nice thing about some of the grasses, especially feather reed grass, is that those plumes will stay on throughout most of the winter. So you actually get some winter interest. I know later on you have a talk about winter interest, and I'll bet you'll talk about some grasses. Blue-eyed grass, again, it has kind of a blue color to it. And carex, or sedge, is another nice addition for shaded ornamental grasses. Shrubs, again, the list goes on, but again, I picked some on my own. The unsung witch hazel. It's a native plant used in medicinals from way back when. There's an autumnal and a vernal, and this particular one, this yellow one here, is what we call autumnal, and it actually will bloom in like October. So it's kind of a neat. So when everything's else kind of going downhill, this thing's putting out some blooms. And they'll get 6-8 feet tall as well, even in the shade. Caria japonica, another one I like because when it's not blooming, it's got this nice variegated foliage. This is one that is a little marginal here, so again, I would recommend covering it up. It only gets about at the most 3 feet tall, probably more like 2 feet here in Indiana. But cover it up with some leaves, and they give it a little protection in the wintertime. And of course, azalea, you can't go wrong with the many different colors of those as well. This is one of the plants that will like acidic soil. So if you do have a lot of acid in that soil, consider an azalea. Summer sweet, again, it's a nice larger bush with more of a spike bloom on it. Leucothaway, again, is kind of an unsung one as well. It gets these drupes that hang down of white flowers and kind of a glossy leaf. And they'll turn a reddish wine color in the winter, and the leaves will actually kind of hang on. It's kind of a semi-evergreen, but and this is about as far north as it'll grow. So if we get an abnormally bad winter, you might lose it. But again, they're really nice. They will bloom throughout the summer. And of course, hydrangea. Again, when I was back in the day, we had a white one and a blue one that sometimes was pink, and a pink one that sometimes was blue, and that's what you got. Now the hydrangea market is ridiculous. They're introducing new ones every year, and I say, how many more do we need? But obviously, so many things we do. And again, there's different colors. One of my favorites is the oak leaf, which is the native hydrangea. There's an oak leaf type flower on it. And there's actually another nice one, the petiole, which is a climbing hydrangea. Again, we'll do more in the shade. One of my favorite genus, viburnum. It's underused. When I had my own landscape company, I did landscapes. I made sure I put in viburnums in every one of my designs because they're so versatile with so many looks to them, so many different textures, so many different shapes and sizes. This is just 3 of them here. See some nice fall color on the far left there. The double file in the middle, those branches are almost perfectly horizontal with the white flowers on it. And then you get some winter interest here with the American cranberry viburnum. So if you don't have a viburnum in your yard, get rid of one of those junipers or one of those taxus and put in a viburnum, because there's so many different looks to them and different uses. And they like the shade. Evergreens. A lot of people go, evergreens will live in the shade? Absolutely. Pieris, another one of my favorites too. Again, it's a late spring, early summer bloomer, a waxy type leaf on it. It will turn, again, a wine color in the fall. And again, it's kind of a semi-evergreen here, but this is pushing the limit of it. But I recommend it if you want to try something a little bit different. Oregon grape holly, with this, hence the name, because of the grape-like little berries you get on it. Birds love it. And it has the holly type look to it, though it's not that's not an ilex, it's a mahonia, but another nice plant. And then microbiota. This plant is hardy because it's from Siberia, so it should take what Indiana can give it. But it's very feathery, it's flat and low, it has a total different look than the spine of a juniper and the needles of a juniper. It's very graceful. It's kind of between a juniper and an arborvitae in that area. Dwarf mugo pine, believe it or not, will do well in shade. Canada yew or taxus, English yew or Japanese yew, they'll all do well. And again, they have cone shape and uprights and ball shape and different things like that. That's a very soft needled evergreen. And then blue princess holly, again, this is the ilex. You do need to have the prince to get the berry, but a lot of growers now are putting the prince and the princess in the same pot. So you will don't have to worry about that problem. They're getting together for you. You don't have to introduce them later. So there you go. And of course, rhododendron. Many different colors. Some rhododendrons will get 15 to 18 feet tall. Some will only get 2 to 3 feet tall. One of the hardiest ones is called the PJM, which was developed up at the University of Minnesota. So it's very hardy for Indiana. But love the shade, beautiful flowers. And then and they're kind of a semi-evergreen. The leaves are kind of hang on. They'll look like bad leather, but they'll hang on through the winter time as well. Ornamental trees. So you've got your big trees giving you the shade, but you can have some ornamental trees in there as well. The native dogwood loves the shade. Bottle brush buckeye. They don't sell a lot of those in Ann Arbor. I don't know why, but they don't. But I like them. Again, it's got this white spike flower on it. It'll get quite large, and it loves the shade.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the native dogwood?
Cornus, Florida.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then we have mountain laurel. Mountain laurel in Indiana, absolutely, yes. It'll do well in the shade. Incredibly beautiful flowers in the early spring, one of the earlier bloomers. Amelanchier or serviceberry from Canada, so it's very hardy. That's the fall color on it. And Cercis canadensis or a red bud, again with these purple flowers that come out before the leaves come out, one of the earliest bloomers in spring. Great understory trees for shade. Oops, hit the wrong button, excuse me. Tropicals. So you can put your tropical plants outside in the shade. There's a couple rules before I go to these. If you bring the tropicals in from your house and bring them outside in the spring, as I recommend, because they get a lot of nice fresh air, you don't want to put them in the sun, you want to put them in the shade, because they've been in the shade all winter in your house. So if you put them in the sun, they will get sunburned or get scalded. So make sure you put them in the shade. And again, if you leave them in the containers, you can bring them back in when the first sign of frost comes along in the fall. But other plants that do well, caladiums. If you ever drove down to South Florida, around Lake Okeechobee, and I don't know why you would go there unless you want to look at sugarcane fields and go hunt alligators, but it's the caladium capital of the world. And you drive through, and just like you drive through Indiana, you see all these cornfields, you see caladium fields. And it's no offense against Indiana corn, but it's very pretty. So really nice, but again, it's different. That is tasty. That is very good. A lot of different colors, whites and pinks and mauves and things like that. Good southern plant, camellia, but what a beautiful flower it is. It's one of the purest flowers out there. And then, believe it or not, amaryllis. So if you have the ubiquitous amaryllis at Christmas time and it flowers, cut that flower off, let it go dormant, ignore it. As soon as you can, plant it in the spring, and you might just get some flowers around September. Now, they're not gonna look like they did at Christmas, they're gonna look a little weak, but they're gonna, I'll get some blooms on them. Calla lily is another good one. Akuba, it's kind of a nice plant. Again, it's got this speckled look to it, so it's all about the foliage on this one. And the more shade, the more variegation you get in that. So it's really likes the shade. And then Persian shield is another tropical plant, nice house plant. But the nice thing about it is when the new foliage comes out, it's that nice kind of a neon purple that comes out, and it kind of fades to a silver purple. Of course, again, most houseplants. Here's a picture of, this is my brother's house in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He plants takes the snake plants out, puts them in amongst his ferns in the summertime. So again, it gives just a nice little texture, different look to it. Over there, you've got some crotons in window boxes with some ivy. So again, you can take any houseplant outside and just make sure you give it some good shade. And some recommended bulbs. There's some cool things out there. Of course, grape hyacinth is one of the more popular ones, but it does well in shade. Autumn crocus is kind of a neat plant again. And then one of my favorites, Scilla. It's very light, very delicate, very light blue, very small, but it grows, it loves it in the shade. And it's one of the first ones to bloom in the spring as well. Of course, the native plant Trillium, one of the great plants. Winter aconite, that thing, that'll start blooming in March. And wood anemone, again, it's a wind flower, but it has, not only is the flower nice, if you can tell, but it's got a really nice, unique leaf shape to it as well. So when it's not blooming, it's got interest as well. Now, you gotta create some shade. You got one of these houses in the fields. A lot of trees will do it, but some unsung heroes. The tulip tree. Tulip tree will get to 100 feet tall. You'd have to plant when you're about 3 months old. And you might have to live to about 100, but it would get to 100 feet tall. Neat thing about the tulip tree, that's the fall color, but in the spring it gets tulips on it about the size of a softball. So it actually does get like a tulip type flower on it. One of the oldest plants on earth, the ginkgo biloba. Again, it has a nice leaf shape to it. And it's really good, one of the best, what we call a street tree. So it's really good for planting by a street. It'll take air pollution, exhaust from cars, things like that very well, a lot better than a lot of other trees. And then another unsung, beautiful globe shape, the American hornbeam. American linden, if you want to look more of a triangular shape. And the sycamore with its very recognizable mottled bark. And then the sweet gum. In my opinion, pound for pound, sweet gums have just as good a color as a red maple. That's the fall color on a sweet gum. And then you've got, of course, your oaks and your maples, many different kinds. You've got a white oak, got a shimmered oak, and a sugar maple. But they are, the large tree market is not like the perennial market. So as breeders and hybridizers work on plants, they're more apt to work on a perennial or an annual or maybe a shrub. Maybe not so much on trees. We don't get a whole lot of new introductions in trees, but when we do, they're quite often pretty spectacular. A lot of the red maples are Acer rubens are done for their fall color. A lot of those were developed at Michigan State University, thank you. And those are just some great trees to create some shade. So I'm going to show you a few examples that I've seen around in the areas. This is a kind of a neat one. It's got that polka dot plant in there with some begonia. And at the very top, there's actually a philodendron leaf. So it's kind of using a little bit of everything. Here's one using the stone, as I mentioned. You can always use water features in there. Any pathways that you might want to use. There's a Japanese maple on the left. There's another good understory tree, though they can be temperamental weather-wise. This is a lot of nice ornamental grasses. And some closing remarks. So no matter what level, don't be intimidated by shade. Okay, there's something that'll work out there. Remember, don't use your top dressing for wood. Use stone if you can. Use container gardens if you can as well. Look at those, recommended plants for the Midwest that I gave you, and I said there's a whole lot more out there that aren't on my list. And or maybe you'd like to create a shade garden, which is fine, but get some big trees and create your own garden. But most of all, enjoy your shade garden. It's they're meditative, they're relaxing, and they can be your sanctuary, for lack of another term. So that's the shade gardens in about 30 minutes. I'm a little bit early on that, but that's fine. So I'm going to take some questions you might have. It doesn't have to be on shade gardens. If you have a question on any plant-related thing, I'll do my best to answer it. But what do you got? Yes.
I have very dry shade. Huge oaks, they suck every drop out of the ground. Any special recommendations for dry shade?
So a question about dry shade, dry soil shade. Two things I would recommend. One, I go back and try to do raised gardens, raised beds, or containers. So you're creating your own soil. If you're going to plant in the native soil that's already there, that's dry, you're going to have to backfill it with some good, rich humus or peat to kind of break that down. So again, if you can, dry soil is not good unless you're a cactus, really. But so maybe try to do a raised garden and then solve that problem. Way back. Yep.
We have a pretty big tree in our backyard.
A ginkgo?
This year it looks a little sparse as far as the leaves go.
It's hard to say. It's kind of like, you call a doctor up and say, hey, doc, I got a pain right here, and he's going to diagnose it over the phone. Well, it's hard to say what could be causing that. There's no pathogenic issues that I'm aware of that are going around that are attacking geckos. It could be, sometimes plants will go into a vegetative state or a dormant state. Ever get a plant that, boy, one year like a lilac maybe, or a hydrangea or whatever, it blooms like crazy, and the next year you get nothing, right? Sometimes they just go vegetative. They just need to regroup and regenerate. What you might want to try on your ginkgo is maybe give it a shot of plant food. A good, well-balanced plant food. When I talk about well-balanced, there's 3 numbers on fertilizer, and all fertilizers and plant foods: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And so, like if you get a lawn food, it's going to be very high in the first number. It's going to be like a 24-10-10. So it's really high in nitrogen because you want to green up that turf. And a well-balanced plant food is going to be more like a 10-10-10. So all is even. I recommend that for any blooming plant, any house plant, any tree. So just get a nice, well-balanced fertilizer and maybe give it a shot. The soil might just be kind of spent and needs a little extra. Yes.
I have issues with deer a lot, especially hosta, but is there any other plants to worry about that are more deer resistant?
There's no such thing as a deer-resistant plant. All that stuff is all marketing. If a deer gets hungry enough, I've seen him eat rose bushes, thorns, and all. Though they do tend to like the softer tissue plants like a hosta plant would be. If they're an issue, if you get, there are certain things on the market like predatory urine, which is like from coyotes. And you put that around and they think there might be a coyote in the area and you might leave your plants alone. You could also use copious amounts of hot pepper flakes. They don't like hot pepper flakes. Right? Flakes like you put on a pizza. They don't tend to like the smell of that either, but there's no deer-resistant plants that I know.
Thanks for that.
Pachysandra? Yes. So just about any ground cover can be invasive. It can take over. Pachysandra is notorious for that. So you can, if you want to stop the advancement of it, you almost have to put in a barrier, whether it be brick or stone or edging. Cause it's gonna spread underground, so if it stops it, it's gonna contain it. So, and you're gonna find that with ivy, with just about any ground cover, but. Way over there.
I just wanted to say, I've had really good luck with liquid fence for keeping the deer from eating houses. And it's cheaper if you get the concentrate and mix it up yourself.
Oh, okay. Something in a liquid fence they don't like, okay. Yeah.
It smells really bad.
Okay, that might be it right there. Keep the kids out too. Yes.
Oh, I was wondering in the raised bed garden, what mix of dirt, what else would you mix with the dirt for a raised bed?
Okay, well, first I'm gonna correct you, it's not dirt, it's soil. Dirt's on your car. So there's, actually, there are what they call there's raised bed mixes, believe it or not, it's marketed as that, or container mixes, and it's usually a mix of soil and some peat. Peat moss is usually in there well, and they may put some biochar, or they may put some vermiculite in there for aeration. And if you get like a Scott's Miracle Grow, I mean, it's even gonna have some time-release fertilizer in it as well. So, and I don't work for Scott's, but it's a good stuff. So yeah, there are mixes out there.
How high should your raised bed be? Does it have to be, can I do it low?
So you think, how deep
Yeah.
should it be? It depends on what you're gonna put in it. If you're gonna stick with annuals and perennials, you can make it probably 12 to 18 inches.
Okay.
If you're gonna put permanent shrubbery in there, it's gonna be a whole nother story, and I don't recommend it because the roots are off above the ground now and they could freeze.
Okay.
So it's really gonna be more for annual perennial type planters.
But a perennial would live in it all winter?
It should, if you use a good soil and a good hardy perennial.
Okay.
If you bring your caladiums in, do they grow all winter then?
So the question is, if you bring your caladiums in or similar type tropical plants, they don't grow, they survive, they live.
So they don't have to go dormant then?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
they'll,
I love my caladiums.
yes, yeah, and so you bring them in from the shade, but you're gonna put them in a higher light window because the sun levels in the wintertime in Indiana are low. So again, I recommend a west or a southern exposure. Yes.
I've had good luck with cocoa coir in my raised beds along with the other soils.
Okay,
What was that?
Cocoa coir.
yeah,
Cocoa
yeah,
coir?
yeah. Core, it's
C-O-I-R.
yeah. It's core. It's from the coconut palms down in Sri Lanka and in India and all that kind of areas where they get it from. And it's also really good for water retention. And a lot of soil mixes will have it in it today. Yes.
What would you recommend to get rid of creeping Charlie?
I presume you meet the plant, not your neighbor. Creeping Charlie, that is, yes. You know what, the best way to get rid of it, and I hate to say this, it's mechanical, yes, it's mechanical removal. The problem is if you use a strong enough herbicide on it, you're gonna kill whatever else it's creeping into. So you can't pull it out, and yeah, try to stay ahead of it, but really there are some select herbicides on the market that claim it will take care of it, but it doesn't.
Or you can use it like a ground cover.
Yeah, or you can just let it take over and become your ground cover, yes. Yes.
I have two questions. One, I had houses that I separated out about 4 or 5 years ago, and they never came back right. They just make a circle, there's nothing in the middle. And I took the hostas away on the side, so there should be a clump in the middle. Any idea what would do that?
Well, it could be improper separation or division of them. I mean, maybe you cut it wrong, cut it, too close to one or not close enough to another. If you've got an area in the middle, I would just go ahead and restock it with another cut, yeah. Mhm.
And then the other one, there's a, what's your plant? Hydrangea. It bloomed 1 year, and it was beautiful, and that's been like 5, 6 years ago, and it has not bloomed since. It's a beautiful plant. but it doesn't even put a bud out.
Well, do you know, so there are three kinds of hydrangea. Okay, there's a big leaf, and a smooth, and a native. Do you know which one you might have?
It's a big,
Big leaf? Okay, do you prune it at all?
Well, I did last year, I don't think it matters.
Okay, what I would do this year is I would give it a good pruning, a good cut. I mean, I'd say like take a third of it off, and then fertilize it in the spring, and it might just rejuvenate.
Well, the other thing is, I noticed something too, that sitting at my deer, because it's a fairly good size.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that really wouldn't affect the blooming part of it, no. No, yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, I mean, I had a peony, I have a peony that last year I got one bloom on it, this year I had about eight of them. So, and I didn't do anything different. So it can be on the plant, sometimes on the winter, we might have had it. But so a lot of times blooming plants like to be cut back, they can reflush, and then they can rebloom. So give that a shot. Yes?
Ideas for a large garden that's under a deck. It's like a house with a walkout basement, and then it, has a large area or builds up maybe 4 feet high garden, and this is all under like a 25-foot deck.
Again, you could go with any of those annuals that I mentioned, if you want to do that. If it's really dark and shade, you could always take your shot at growing mushrooms. But but no, seriously, I would go with a begonia or an impatient or a sweet alyssum, things like that. And it's a raised bed.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
about 4 feet.
Would do that. Yes, sir.
Just any ideas special ideas for what to put underneath large pine trees that are not cut way up high, that they're providing some good cover, pine trees?
Okay, so, and you don't want to limb them up? Okay. About the only thing you're going to grow underneath there are going to be pine needles. Because really, on the shade definition, it actually talks about a certain amount of shade is based on how high the limbs are on a tree. Well, if your limbs are pretty much on the ground, it's going to be very difficult to grow anything. I mean, you're going to give good cover for wildlife. I mean, it's a nice habitat for that.
I'm up about 3 or 4 feet.
3 or 4 feet, and is it a pine or spruce?
Blue spruce.
Blue spruce, okay. So you're gonna have a little bit of acidic soil as well. I would start off by taking a good native perennial. If you want to go with like a sweet woodruff or a trillium, and try those and see how they go. And if they take, they will spread. So you might have to do a little experimentation on it. Any other, yes?
So with the plants that are planted underneath oak trees, that are, really dry soil, and you said use humus,
Mm-hmm.
just put it around the plant?
So you till it in?
Okay, leaving the plant alone, just going around it.
Yeah, because as the roots reach it, they're gonna go, wow, this is great, I'm gonna go farther.
And plain old humus, do you have to mix it with the dirt?
You can mix it with soil, sure.
Like
Mhm.
half and half, or what?
You can buy one already made up for you, don't have to worry about it.
Oh, okay.
So that would be a garden, it's usually marketed under garden amendment soil.
Because we have clay.
You've got it all going on, no? Yeah. And again, with any type of clay situation, when you plant a plant, if the plant pot is this big around, you double the size of the hole and backfill it with good fresh soil. So the roots will get established in that good stuff, so that by the time they reach the clay, that plant is vigorous enough to bust into it to survive. Yes? For water plants? Did you say, I'm sorry? marginal plants, shade. Yeah, so, they call them marginal plants or bog plants. So, one of my, I like any type of sedges or reeds, bulrushes, the old story of Moses and the bulrush, growing on the side of the Nile. Papyrus is a great bog plant. Yeah, the thing about natives is it depends on, like, I don't know about here in Indiana, but like in the state of Michigan, purple loosestrife is invasive. Same thing here? But you know what, it's not in New York. So, which is a native plant, but, yeah, that's,
Skunk cabbage?
skunk cabbage. Yeah, the problem with natives in general, especially marginal bog plants, not a lot of growers grow them. You have to kind of find somebody doing it as a hobby almost. I work with some of the largest growers in the country, and they don't mess around with it. And it's all because there's no money in it.
Oh, now I have to interject.
Yeah.
If you are looking for sedges, there are many, many sedges that are on the market. And the native ones are sold just by native nurseries, and there are several native nurseries in the region. If you need more information, contact me.
There you have it. Excellent, good. Yeah, most native nurseries are down some dirt road somewhere in the back, and then, yeah. And if you know where they are, perfect.
And on that note, I think we're gonna thank you.
Oh.
Thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it.